Hi, Questers. Today's quest begins with the most essential element of your existence, something you trust implicitly with every beat of your heart and every firing of your neurons.
It isn't water. It isn't food. It isn't even the gravity that holds you to this planet. It is oxygen itself.
But this isn't the gentle, life-giving gas you learned about in elementary biology. That is a comforting lie. The reality is that you are living inside a fundamental paradox. You aren't just breathing in fuel. You are breathing in a slow-burning fire. If the oxygen were removed from the room you are currently in, the consequences would be immediate and catastrophic. You would lose consciousness in seconds. Your cellular machinery would grind to a halt, and you would be collapsed within minutes.
But here is the strange, uncomfortable reality that science has uncovered. The element that is keeping you alive right now is also slowly killing you every single second of your life.
Oxygen is a double-edged sword that biology has held against our throats for billions of years. It powers us, yes, but it also rusts us from the inside out. If you are ready to understand the atomic physics, the violent evolutionary history, and the brutal trade-off life made to survive, subscribe and join the quest. Because this story explains why you age, why you break down, and ultimately, why every living thing on this planet has an expiration date. Let's start by dismantling the biggest misunderstanding about the air we breathe. We tend to think of oxygen as a passive, calm gas that just floats around waiting to be used by our lungs. We imagine it like a gentle breeze. The scientific reality is that oxygen is not calm. Oxygen is desperate. To understand why, we have to zoom in to the subatomic level. We have to look at the architecture of the atom itself. Oxygen is defined by a chemical concept called electronegativity. In simple terms, this is a measure of how badly an atom wants to steal electrons from its neighbors.
In the periodic table of elements, oxygen is the schoolyard bully. It is the second most electronegative element in the entire universe, second only to fluorine.
Here is the physics of that hunger. An oxygen atom has a nucleus surrounded by shells of electrons. The outermost shell is called the valence shell, and it contains 6 electrons. But the laws of quantum mechanics dictate that this shell is most stable when it has 8 electrons. This is known as the octet rule.
Oxygen is 2 electrons short of perfection, and it is furious about it. This atomic instability makes oxygen a thief. It will steal those missing electrons from anything nearby to satisfy its hunger. It doesn't care what it steals from. When oxygen steals electrons from iron, the metal degrades, turns red, and crumbles. We call this rust. When oxygen steals electrons from wood in a rapid runaway chain reaction that releases heat and light, we call it fire. And when oxygen steals electrons from your food inside the controlled environment of your cells, we call it metabolism.
Rust, fire, decay, and life. These seem like different things to us, but chemically, they are identical. They are all just oxygen doing what oxygen does best, tearing electrons away from other molecules to stabilize itself.
Now here is the uncomfortable truth. We are, quite literally, a slow-burning fire. The same oxidation reaction that turns a log into ash in a fireplace is happening inside you right now. It is just happening slower, dampened by water and controlled by enzymes, but it is the same destructive process.
To understand why this is happening to you and why we are dependent on such a toxic chemical, we have to go back in time. We need to look at the history of our planet, roughly 2.4 billion years ago.
For the first half of Earth's history, there was almost no oxygen in the atmosphere. The world was anaerobic. The oceans were likely purple, filled with ancient bacteria that lived on sulfur and methane. These ancient microbes were happy, safe, and slow.
Then, an evolutionary accident occurred. A specific type of bacteria, known as cyanobacteria, figured out a new trick. They learned how to drink water and eat sunlight to produce energy, the process we know as photosynthesis. But like any engine, this process produced exhaust.
That exhaust gas was oxygen.
For the life that existed back then, oxygen wasn't a gift. It was a weapon of mass destruction. Oxygen was highly reactive and toxic to the cellular machinery of the time.
As cyanobacteria pumped more and more of it into the atmosphere, it triggered a global catastrophe known to science as the Great Oxidation Event.
It was the first and arguably the greatest mass extinction in Earth's history. The oxygen reacted with the methane in the atmosphere, stripping away the planet's greenhouse blanket.
With the greenhouse gas gone, Earth cooled rapidly. Ice spread from the poles toward the equator until the planet was almost entirely frozen. This extreme ice age lasted millions of years. Scientists call this period Snowball Earth.
Most life on Earth was wiped out. The oxygen rusted the oceans and poisoned the air. But a few cells survived. And they didn't just hide from the oxygen. They did something impossible. They swallowed it.
This brings us to the most important moment in the history of life. A larger, predatory cell engulfed a smaller bacterium that had learned to tolerate oxygen. But instead of digesting it, the larger cell kept it alive. They formed a partnership. This is called the endosymbiotic theory.
That small, swallowed bacterium evolved into the mitochondria that live inside your cells today.
This partnership changed everything. Before oxygen, life was microscopic, slow, and simple. After oxygen, life exploded in complexity.
Why? Because oxygen is powerful.
When a cell processes food without oxygen, anaerobically, it is inefficient. It only gets about 2 units of energy for every molecule of glucose. But when you burn that same glucose with oxygen, you get 36 to 38 units of energy.
Oxygen provided a turbo boost. It yields roughly 16 to 18 times more energy than the old way of living. This massive surplus of energy is what allowed for multicellular life. It paid for big bodies. It paid for fast movement. And most importantly, it paid for the most energy-hungry organ in biological history, the human brain.
Your thoughts, your emotions, your creativity, your ability to understand this video, all of it is expensive energy work, powered by the volatile combustion of oxygen.
But here is the catch. There is no such thing as free energy. The deal life made with oxygen came with a terrible price. Oxygen gave life energy, but it quietly put an expiration date on it. Methane-based anaerobic life doesn't have an expiry date because it burns energy slowly and safely, producing little internal damage over time. Oxygen-based life, in contrast, burns energy fast and violently. That extra power comes at a hidden cost, reactive damage that accumulates with every breath, quietly placing a countdown on life itself.
To understand why, we have to look inside the mitochondria, the power plants of your cells. This is where the deal goes sour.
Inside your mitochondria, there is a complex system called the electron transport chain. Imagine a bucket brigade. Electrons from your food are passed along a chain of protein complexes, hopping from one to the next. This flow of electrons pumps protons, which charges the battery of the cell.
At the very end of the line, oxygen is waiting. It is the final catcher. It catches the electrons and combines with hydrogen to turn harmlessly into water, H2O.
When this works perfectly, it is a miracle of efficiency. But biology is never 100% perfect. It is messy.
Sometimes, and estimates vary, but it happens roughly 1% to 2% of the time, the oxygen gets impatient. It grabs an electron too early in the chain, before it is ready to become water. When this happens, it doesn't become water. It becomes a twisted, angry molecule called a superoxide anion. This is the birth of a free radical.
Free radicals are molecular anarchists. They are atoms or molecules that have an unpaired electron in their outer shell. In the world of chemistry, an unpaired electron is a state of panic. The molecule becomes violently reactive. It needs to find another electron to stabilize itself, and it doesn't care where it gets it. It will rip an electron off the nearest stable molecule. It might steal from a strand of your DNA, breaking the genetic code. It might steal from the lipids in your cell membrane, punching a hole in the protective wall of the cell. It might steal from a protein, twisting its shape and rendering it useless.
And here is the terrifying part. When a free radical steals an electron from a stable molecule, that victim becomes a free radical itself. It now has an unpaired electron, so it turns and attacks its neighbor. It creates a chain reaction of destruction, a cascade of theft that rips through the cell.
We call this damage oxidative stress.
Think of your body like a car engine. The engine burns fuel to create motion, but it also creates heat and exhaust. Over time, that heat warps the pistons and rusts the metal. That is exactly what is happening to you. When free radicals attack your collagen, your skin loses elasticity and you get wrinkles. When they attack your blood vessels, arteries harden. When they attack your DNA, you get mutations that can lead to cancer. When they attack the fats in your brain, you experience cognitive decline and memory loss. Here is the line most people never hear. You are not aging simply because time passes. Time is just a measurement. You are aging because oxygen keeps attacking your biological machinery. We are slowly rusting from the inside out.
So this begs the question, if oxygen is so dangerous, and if we are leaking these toxic molecules constantly, why don't we die in a week? Why do humans live to be 80?
The answer lies in your body's defense systems. Your body knows oxygen is dangerous. It has known for 2 billion years, so it built a defense grid. You have an army of internal superheroes. These are antioxidant enzymes with complex names like superoxide dismutase, catalase, and glutathione peroxidase. These aren't just vitamins you get from a blueberry. These are potent biological machines manufactured by your DNA specifically to disarm oxygen. Superoxide dismutase catches the first dangerous radical and turns it into hydrogen peroxide. Then, catalase swoops in and breaks that hydrogen peroxide down into harmless water and oxygen gas. Right now, as you watch this, your body is fighting millions of tiny chemical battles every second. You are constantly repairing the damage. You have DNA repair systems that unzip your genetic code, cut out the rusted parts, and stitch it back together. You have recycling systems like autophagy that eat damaged cell parts. But, and here's the tragedy of the human condition, repair is not free. Thermodynamics demands a toll. Repair costs energy, it costs time, and crucially, it requires precision. When you are young, your defense systems are robust. Your mitochondria are fresh. You generate plenty of antioxidant enzymes. You scrub away the rust almost as fast as it forms. You look youthful because your damage is being managed. But as you age, the balance shifts. Your mitochondria become worn out and start leaking more free radicals. Your DNA repair enzymes become sluggish and make mistakes. Your recycling systems get overwhelmed by the garbage piling up inside the cell. The damage begins to outpace the repair. Errors accumulate. Aging is not a mistake. Aging is not a failure of biology. Aging is simply the mathematical inevitability of entropy. It is what happens when the repair crew can no longer keep up with the fire. But the story doesn't end with biology. We have to talk about how we live. We are making the battle harder for ourselves. Evolution prepared us for a specific environment: clean air, natural food, and moderate physical stress. But look at the modern world we have built. We have introduced toxins that our bodies were never designed to handle. Pollution in our cities is filled with particulate matter that generates massive amounts of free radicals in our lungs. Cigarette smoke is essentially a concentrated dose of oxidative stress. One puff contains trillions of free radicals. Processed foods, high in sugar and seed oils, force our mitochondria to work overdrive, causing more electron leaks. Chronic psychological stress releases cortisol, which further dampens our repair systems. We didn't become weaker. We became faster than evolution. We turned oxygen from a controlled risk into a constant, overwhelming overload. We are burning the candle at both ends. This brings us to a dangerous concept in the health industry: the illusion of the simple cure. People hear the science and think, okay, if oxygen causes damage, then antioxidants must be the cure for death. If I just eat enough antioxidant-rich foods or take enough antioxidant pills, I can stop aging. But biology is not that simple.
If you were to completely remove free radicals from your body, you would actually die. It turns out we need a little bit of stress. Your immune system uses free radicals as weapons. When a white blood cell finds a bacteria, it blasts it with a respiratory burst of bleach and free radicals to kill it. Your muscles use free radicals as signal molecules. When you exercise, the oxidative stress tells your genes to build stronger muscles.
If you suppress all oxidation with massive doses of artificial antioxidants, you can actually shut down your immune system and prevent your body from adapting to exercise.
Life exists on a razor's edge. Too little oxygen, you die immediately. Too much oxidation, you age faster. But too much protection, you become weak.
Nature doesn't seek perfection. Nature seeks survival. Nature only cares that you live long enough to reproduce and pass on your genes. Once you have done that, nature stops caring about your repair systems. The oxidation is allowed to take over.
So, where does this leave us? It leaves us with a profound new perspective on our own mortality. The very breath that allows you to think, to love, to dream, and to watch this video is the same force that will eventually end your time here. Oxygen didn't choose to be kind or cruel. It simply follows the laws of physics. It follows the path of electronegativity. But life is stubborn. Life didn't conquer oxygen, it learned to dance with it. And that dance, between energy and destruction, is what makes life precious. If we hadn't made that deal billions of years ago, we might have lived forever as simple, microscopic blobs in a stagnant ocean. We would be safe, but we would be nothing. We traded longevity for intensity. We traded safety for complexity. We accepted the ash so that we could have the fire.
Because life was never meant to last forever. It was meant to burn bright for a while.
Life is not about avoiding danger. It's about surviving it, long enough to mean something. If this deep dive changed how you see your own breath, if the physics of aging resonated with you, hit like and share this video. Share it because understanding our biology is the first step to mastering it. And subscribe to Quest Hut because our next quest digs even deeper into the science. We're going to ask the hard questions. Can we hack this system? Is it possible to repair the damage faster than oxygen creates it? Or is the limit written in stone? Let us know in the comments. See you, Questers!